head that wears the crown got a little heavier last season. In his first year in LA, LeBron James missed more games than ever and missed the postseason for the first time since his second year in the NBA. But the Lakers went big in going after the brow. Anthony Davis arrives in LA with a fresh start and more expectations than he's ever faced. Now, from non-playoff qualifier, the Lakers are a favorite to win it all. It's shaping up as a finals or failure season for LA.
Everyone's talking about the big winners of the summertime. Is it the Nets? Is it the Clippers? Is it the Lakers? It's actually Staples Center. Staples Center is the biggest winner of the summer.
LA will certainly be a destination for NBA fans and media this year. Good to have you along for the Lakers team preview. 10 points on the upcoming season. Three-time champion with the Lakers, longtime assistant coach Brian Shaw right there. That's Greg Anthony. I'm Matt Weiner. We'll hear from these guys along the way. In one very specific way, this Lakers season has been a long time coming. It was no secret after LeBron James arrived last summer that LA had Anthony Davis in their sights. After giving up a package of really good young players and draft picks, the six-time All-Star now wears purple and gold and gives Laker fans that old contending feeling. Here's the King on his new star sidekick.
We don't know exactly what our offensive things that we're going to do, defensively we're going to do. We haven't got started yet. Like I said, we got a brand new coaching staff. We have brand new players coming into a new system, but we all know how great Anthony Davis is. And if we're not playing through Anthony Davis while he's on the floor, then it makes no sense to have him on the floor because he's that great. And it doesn't mean like every time down, we throw it to him and throw it to him and throw it to him, but we have the ability to do that. And he's been very efficient in his career. He commands double teams. And when you're able to attract two defenders on one guy, then you have the numbers game. Now you got a 4-on-3 on the backside. So it opens it up for other guys on the floor, including myself.
You think LeBron's been thinking about this a little bit with Anthony Davis? He is well rested. He's had all summer to think about what playing with Anthony Davis will mean for this Laker team. And to me, with all these new duos and trios paired together around the league, there may not be a more compatible duo of superstars than these guys. How will it work together?
I think it's going to work extremely well, and not just because of the overall talent, but if you think about LeBron James and the incredible career he's had, Anthony Davis will be the most talented player he's ever played with. Now, there might be guys who've been more accomplished, but when you look at the pure physical talent of Anthony Davis, none of the guys he's played with have that kind of a skill set. And so you pair him at this stage of LeBron's career, I think it's a match made in heaven, and there is going to be a lot of excitement at the Staples Center.
And I have to agree, with all the points that Greg made, the fact that LeBron has never played with someone as talented as Anthony Davis. When I played for the Lakers under Phil Jackson, we ran the triangle offense, which was basically Kobe and Shaq in a pick and roll or a two-man game on the side and everybody else space out on the other side. And so when you put those two together in a two-man action, anywhere on the court, you have to pick your poison. And when you throw the defense to stop either one of those two, it's just going to open it up for everybody else. And with the addition of the shooting that they added this season, it's going to be pot shots for guys like Danny Green, KCP, Avery Bradley, and some of the perimeter guys that they added to this team.
How will LeBron and AD benefit from each other on the floor?
Well, because, just what I said in terms of the picking your poison. So and I think that LeBron now has somebody else out there that he can trust when he's off the ball. And I don't know that he had that last year. And so when he played in Cleveland with Kyrie Irving, he had that guy who he can give the ball to and defer and let him do his thing. And he has somebody in Anthony Davis as well that, when he's off the ball, he has confidence. He's going to make the right play and open things up for everybody else, and vice versa. When Anthony Davis has it, it opens up LeBron to do a little bit more playing off the ball as well.
The other aspect of it is when you look at Anthony Davis, he benefits, one, I think his shot quality raises, right? He doesn't have to take as many tough shots. He's a very efficient player. but that's based on him also having to take probably 6 or 7 bad shots a game just by virtue of the talent he played with. You get to eliminate 3 or 4 of those bad shots and make those higher quality shots. So I think that is a huge benefit. From LeBron's standpoint, the fact that you've got a tremendous defensive player in Anthony Davis, that's going to really help at this stage of his career. LeBron's not the defender that he was in his prime.
Right.
Now you got a guy that can kind of erase some of those mistakes with his ability to play in space, because Anthony Davis is not just a rim protector, he's a shot protector, because he can defend in space, 20, 25 feet from the basket. He's got great lateral quickness. And so when you put a guy like that on the floor, not to mention all the other good defenders they have, that benefits their whole team. And so it's not just what he's going to do statistically, Anthony Davis. We talk about great players making people better. That's one way you can make your teammates better. By being a great defensive player, you erase a lot of mistakes, and Anthony Davis has that ability.
There are tons of changes on this team, not just with the roster. Remember, Magic Johnson stepped away at the end of last season. Rob Pelinka is now running basketball operations on his lonesome, and the Lakers also made a coaching change as well. And after drawn-out negotiations with LeBron's old coach, Tyronn Lue, they landed on former Pacers and Magic coach Frank Vogel. In his best years in Indy, you were his assistant there with the Pacers in these 2 seasons. He had great defensive clubs with Paul George and Roy Hibbert, but below average offensive groups. I'll turn to you for this. How will his philosophy on both sides play out in L.A.?
Well, that's the question, and that's the big question that I have for this team in terms of defensively. I know how he thinks, and is he going to be willing to be versatile? The game is turning more into a switching man-to-man defense 1 through 5. Is he going to be willing to do that? His teams have, I know the time that he puts in watching film and working on defense and practice every day. And having, Rondo is not the defensive player that he was before. LeBron's not the defensive player that he was. And so the pace that Frank Vogel's offensive teams have played at have been very slow over the years. And so you take possessions away. So if you're playing at a slow pace, it puts more pressure on you offensively to be able to score points, but also defensively to be able to get those stops. And so that's the question, is Frank Vogel's defense and the pace that he plays going to hinder this team in any ways?
If you could whisper in Frank Vogel's ears about what his priorities should be this season, what would you tell him?
I think he's got to evolve defensively, and that's tough when that's your staple. But the game's evolved. And if you go back and you look at all the great coaches historically, you look at Pat Riley and Greg Popovich are the 2 guys that come to mind. It's not just that they were great coaches. It's that they adapted to the times. When Pat Riley was with the Lakers, it was Showtime. He came to New York. We didn't have Showtime.
No.
We had blue collar.
Right.
He completely morphed his philosophy. We became a defensive half-court oriented team. And if you look at Greg Popovich, you go back to when Avery Johnson was running, they were giving up 90 points a game. He morphed, evolved as the game changed, became much more of an offensive-minded coach. And so that's what you've got to be able to do. You've got to look at the way the game is played today and say, okay, what principles can I take from my past that will carry over, and how can I evolve defensively to be able to play in today's game? You have to switch pick and rolls in today's game. You're not going to let Dame Lillard and Steph Curry and Kyrie and these guys come unabated, attacking a 5-man 30 feet from the basket.
Right.
You are not going to have success in those matchups.
He's also in a really interesting situation there. Obviously, the pressure is on with the roster with Anthony Davis coming in. LeBron is already there. He was clearly not the team's first choice for this job. He's also got Jason Kidd on his roster. He interviewed for that job. He wants to be a head coach again. Lionel Hollins is there as well. He's a former head coach. And these were not necessarily Frank Vogel's choices. These were the organization's choices. You know, as a head coach and as assistant coach, how those dynamics play out.
Yeah, and that's a difficult position to be placed in, when you don't get to choose your own assistants. But hopefully for him, this offseason and the time that they've been able to spend together since the hiring of those guys has allowed them to become familiar with one another. Frank's willingness to not only listen to the suggestions from Frank Vogel as well as Lionel Hollins, but also from Rondo and LeBron, because those are 2 other coaches that aren't in suits on the bench that are on your side, that have a big say in what's going to happen out there on the floor. And so his willingness to be able to engage them and ask them what they see out there on the floor and what they would like to do is going to be the question in terms of Frank Vogel.
Ordinarily, I wouldn't think this, but Frank Vogels probably has more pressure on him as a head coach than anybody in the NBA, because you've got in Jason Kidd the highest paid assistant now in the NBA. Lionel Hollins, you talked about it, the fact that he's got a tremendous amount of head coaching experience. You're coaching LeBron James. He's never coached a personality. Because when Paul George was with Indiana, he hadn't become this Paul George. He was still a young, unproven talent on his way. So he's got to deal with that, plus the pressures of coaching the Lakers. And so he's in a situation on a 3-year deal,
but a relatively short contract,
which in essence means it's a 1-year deal. You know, and so there's going to be tremendous pressure, and he knows that going in. But it's going to, I think, put more pressure on him that first month of the season. It's important for them to get off to a good start and to be healthy.
And this is an organization that is well aware that it is in the middle of the franchise's longest ever playoff drought, 6 straight years without a postseason appearance. So that means, I don't know, with these players, these top 2 players on this roster, they're looking to become a team that wasn't in the playoffs to a team that maybe wins it all. Are we in championship or bust territory here?
Well, I think the Lakers are always in championship or bust territory, you know, when you look at the history of the franchise and the expectations that come with that. The other thing that we didn't add is that other team that's on the other end of the arena in the other locker room.
The co-tenant.
And the buzz that's around the city now, because now for the first time in a long time, there's 2 teams, 2 LA teams that are the focal point of what's going to happen in this NBA season. Adds to the excitement and the buzz around what's going to happen in this NBA season.
No doubt about it. But I also think that from LeBron's standpoint, he's probably the most excited, because even last year, at their best, he knew that they couldn't compete for a championship. And when you're talking about a guy that's gone to 8 straight finals, that's a tough position to be in, to basically be in where you're having to teach and tutor younger players. Now they've got an experienced roster. You know, they brought in some guys that are going to make a huge difference over the course of an 82-game series. Guys like Avery Bradley, Jared Dudley, those guys are going to be really important. Dwight Howard, in terms of what they can bring on a night-to-night basis, because the real goal is for this group to not only have a good regular season, but to be ready for the postseason, because it is wide open in that Western Conference. And I think you're right. The Staples Center is going to be an exciting place.
And the health issue. You know, LeBron missed more games than he's ever missed in his career last year. Anthony Davis has had a history of injury problems throughout his career. And so are they going to be able to sustain, manage minutes? This is LeBron's 17th year, and I don't care how, you know,
going to catch up to him sooner or later, right?
You would, exactly. You would argue that it was not a great year for him. We talked about it earlier. He averaged 27, 8, and 8 on a not so great year. But you can't put that tread back on the tire once it's worn down.
Well, LeBron's Cavaliers were the last team to reach.
LeBron James pushing the other way. James lost it, gets it back.
LeBron James might be hurt. He's frozen in the backcourt.
You can see him grimace right there.
LeBron James suffered what appeared to be a pulled groin, and this is bad.
When he was talking to the trainers, you could see him mouth the words, "I felt the pop," and he just went back to the locker room.
It was all going so nicely for LA before Christmas when LeBron strained his left groin, an injury that kept him out more than a month. The Lakers went 6-11 while he was out and snowballed right out of the postseason picture, as Bishaw knows all too well. This is now a very different-looking team with only LeBron projected to return in the starting lineup, at least in our projection. Kyle Kuzma was a starter last year, obviously. Could still start, but he has a foot injury that's going to impact his training camp and preseason at the least. But on the flip side, Anthony Davis looks pretty good as a power forward, penciled in there. Maybe not bad as an assistant general manager either.
The front office did a great job of including, you know, LeBron and myself in the decisions, you know, to build this team. You know, every guy that is on this team, you know, me and LeBron had a say-so in, and I think that's very important. You know, when, you know, you go on to war with guys every day, it'd be pretty weird to go to war with a guy that you don't really like. So, you know, they make sure they want to include us in every decision.
That's interesting stuff from AD. It's no secret that star players are sometimes consulted around the league about guys they want to play with. What do you make about what he said?
Well, I think it's pretty smart on the brass of the Lakers to include those guys in the decision making in terms of putting together the roster. It takes some pressure off of Rob Pelinka, because if it doesn't work, he can say, "Well, you guys the ones that told us to do it." No, but you know, it's it's important for guys to play with other players out there that they feel comfortable with, that they know the positions that they're going to be on the floor, and when they are double teamed and what have you, when they kick it out, they have the confidence that those guys are going to knock down shots and make the right plays. And so I think it was smart, like I said, on the part of the front office.
I think the first thing you want to do in terms of that front office, especially when you revamp the roster, you want to talk philosophy and style. First and foremost, right? How we're going to play, how we're going to utilize you, what our signatures personnel and who fits in those categories, who's available. And I think it is healthy to have those kinds of conversations because these guys in today's game, they're aware of their worth. The top frontline guys, they understand their value, and they're as concerned about who's on that roster as the front office and the coaching staff.
Right.
You know, they're not just showing up to show up. They're trying to win, and so they want to know. And honestly, it gives everybody a little bit of ownership in that roster, which I think does help this team. Because even for those supporting cast guys, like when they come there, they know they're there not only because the front office wanted them, but the superstars wanted to play with them. So I think it's a huge advantage.
And remember, DeMarcus Cousins signed on with the Lakers as well before he got hurt, unfortunately. So they had to scramble a little bit to put this roster together. Does it make sense the way it's constituted right now?
I think it does. I think that they have some very good defensive players, and they have some shooting, and they have size, and so I think that all the pieces do fit.
Yeah, the pieces fit. The way that the West has now been reshaped helps them as well. Ultimately, though, you talked about this earlier, it's about do they stay healthy over the course of the regular season.
And you mentioned shooting. That was a big problem for your team last year, 20th in the league in made threes, 29th in terms of three-point percentage. All right, more to get to here when we come back. The latest Lakers star in a long line of them talks about arriving in L.A. and the expectations that accompanied him. It's a rite of passage for a new star in Los Angeles. First pitch at the Dodgers game. Throws a strike, Anthony Davis did. I think Clayton Kershaw is safe, but it was a strike nonetheless. Good job out of AD. Now time to get to the business of bringing a championship to the Lakers. AD with Sean Powell on his new basketball life as a Laker.
Anthony, after everything that happened last season, are you surprised that this day even happened?
No, I mean, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to, start a new chapter in my career. Excited to just play the game of basketball again. I think I missed the last maybe 15 plus games, and I just want to, get back on the floor and compete again.
Have you already sensed a different vibe, a different atmosphere here with the Lakers, just being around the organization and the players?
I mean, obviously we have a great coaching staff. We have a great team, front office, everybody. Everybody welcomed me with open arms, and we feel like we have a chance. That's all we can ask for. So we're all excited to get started and just get on this journey of trying to reach our ultimate goal while staying in the moment at the same time. So. Like I said, I'm excited for it. I'm excited about all of this. This is fun, but the real fun starts tomorrow.
Describe for us the process of getting to know LeBron as a person and also as a player, because you've worked out with him a little.
Yeah, me and LJ been knowing each other for a while, so that was the easy part. We had our moments as teammates on an Olympic team in 2012, and then All-Star in LA. So we had our moments, but we've been engaged in a lot of conversation about this year and what we want to do and how we want to go about it, and us being the leaders, and what it's going to take, for our guys to kind of follow us. So I think that by us having a relationship that we already have and just building on that is going to help us tremendously, especially when we have adversity during the season. We're going to have times where stuff happen, or we know what the narrative, what the media want the narrative to be of us. But it's for us, it's up to us, to make sure that we stay close, especially me and LJ, and keep that narrative to a minimum.
How can you help him, and how can he help you?
I've never played with a guy like that before, and I'm not sure if he played with a guy like me before. So I think we complement each other well. We've been working out a lot, during the summertime, just trying to figure out how we want to play. I think I think it was like a little shock when we were doing pictures over here. He said, I gave him the ball. Said he like, nah, ball gonna be in your hands. So he wants me to kind of just, take control, and let me lead the team. And obviously he's gonna be there as well. But I think it's gonna be a fun moment, and us feeding off each other, knowing how each other play. It'll be fun.
How do you feel about that? Him making you the focal point every now and then.
I'm excited about it. Obviously I had to do that, in New Orleans for a long time. I think, by me doing that for 7 years in New Orleans, it kind of helped me, especially the last couple of years. And I think it really, tested my leadership. The second half of the season when all the stuff was going on, I still try to, help the guys win and help and lead that team as much as possible. So I think, by me doing that the last several years, and then bringing that here with guys who going to also lead with me like LeBron, Rondo, guys who've been veterans, JaVale, help with that as well. I think we'll be fine.
Coming up, the bottom line on what to expect for the Lakers this season. That's next. Just how bad has it been in L.A.? Last season's 37 wins is the most they've had during this 6-year dry spell.
And they fired the coach?
Yeah,
They certainly did.
Yes, they did.
My goodness.
They did, not just the coach. So we're projected they're going to be above 37 with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. We've set the bar at 51.5 wins. Are they going to get more than that or fewer than that?
More than that. 53 is my number.
53.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Brian there. I think you're looking at around 53 games. Again, the West is going to be loaded. I don't think anybody wins 60 this year in the Western Conference. That 53 could be anywhere from probably a 3 to a 5 seed. And I think that could be a good position to be in if they can be healthy once the postseason starts.
More importantly, does this feel like a championship team, a finals team?
It feels like a championship caliber team based on when you look at the landscape of that Western Conference. But there's some upstart young teams that are going to give them a run.
If everything goes right and if they stay healthy, they have as good a chance as anybody.
But you know what? It feels like that 6-year playoff drought is probably going to end if nothing else.
I think so.
You got to crawl before you can walk to a championship trophy. See how it plays out. See you.